4 Things I Noticed Going into the Grocery Store by Renee Lindstrom, founder of the Inside Awareness Center for Integrative Somatic Learning and author of the Somatic Archetypes. This is the first post of 3. I began with a shopping experience on awareness through eating on my Facebook page, and it expanded into a post on awareness through Feng Shui to share the perspective on the entrainment I discussed in the first post on awareness through eating. This was then followed by a post on awareness through health that shared a concept of integration and the potential for one's health and well-being, not being aware of these somatic influences. I will put links to the posts in the description box below. Let's begin with awareness through eating and the post on that Facebook page. There is a time that is a sweet spot going to the grocery store where there is no traffic in the aisles and no lineups at the checkout counters. I found myself in that space yesterday. The clerks are even quiet. No one, it seems, is in the aisles with carts or produce or product. It's a perfect time for someone who views life through patterns. Slowing down and taking the space in, the second thing I notice is how much product is missing for certain items. There are a few times per year where high volumes of product are bought off the shelves. This is the start of the highest assortment of different non-essential products and consumption, in my opinion. It's beginning. It starts with Halloween and runs through to January. That's the third thing I noticed. One shelf even contained the remainder of Halloween-associated foods with Christmas baking products. Are people aware their purchasing decisions are being steered by the marketing product division in the administration of the shopper chain? This is an example of subtle manipulation that is taken for granted. It's habitual. There is a familiar cycle, and it happens through every season. Heck, they even call it seasonal foods. However, less than 10 years ago, this season, it seems, went off the rails in chain stores. It abruptly shifted from one year to the next and was easily identifiable. In one store, I suspect was the year it was sold to an international chain. I remember walking in and being grossed out by what I was viewing. Some of what was in front and center to grab attention was completely disgusting in my eyes. That year, I diverted my shopping to smaller markets to lessen the indoctrination of false food disguised as healthy edibles. If I want to have junk food, I will make it a destination for that purpose. On this shopping trip, after viewing the higher volume of food being bought with the shift in foods available, I recognize now is the time to move into seasonal products. We are entering into the stage of gluttony in proportions I have never experienced before the last few years. No other way to put it. As I began picking up staple type foods, the fourth thing I noticed is that across the board, the food I looked at had all gone up by $1 to $3 in the last week. This is a higher percentage increase than is allowable in rent increases. This is not including the meat portions getting smaller and the prices getting higher that I mentioned a few weeks ago. This is non-meat products. This demonstrates the expectations of consumer spending. People complain. News media writes and discusses it, yet nothing is changing. Government apparently isn't going to take action. Business is not going to change it. Can municipalities change it? Is that in their purview? Only consumers can change it, I suspect, through consumer spending and eating plan choices. Only consumers are being lulled into feeding this subtle false living simulation being created by unseen sources and becoming sleepy. Non-confrontational action could be changing spending habits by making different food choices and not being triggered into buying the foods that will begin appearing this week. Instead, go back to the basics of what real celebration is. This is my opinion based upon being a practitioner of health and well-being with emphasis on somatic awareness. Awareness through Feng Shui. This may be an unlikely topic to share on a Feng Shui page, yet the hub of Feng Shui is health And this topic on food planning is at the core of health, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Rather than focus attention on the same points in this shared post from the Awareness Through Eating page, this perspective is from a perspective of environmental influences to mental health and well-being. This post on Awareness Through Eating is from a physical, mental, and lifestyle perspective of health and well-being. On Awareness Through Feng Shui, the focus I would like to draw one's attention to is the highs and lows in the felt senses and emotional entrainment. This was a conversation held in our training in the 90s, only the focus was on the decorations, parties, and forced community togetherness to share in celebrations, whether they were heartfelt or not. There is a pattern in this seasonal celebration that lends itself to a lack of mental health and well-being. In this particular post, the food in the grocery store is a great somatic example of this very phenomena. Go back into your memory of when you walked into the grocery store right after the New Year and the letdown experience you may have felt walking into an environment that has no party left. There is no Christmas music. There is no vibrant colors left. There are no fancy foods that you have become addicted to. The smells are different as the boughs and branches are gone and the baking smells no longer reflect of Christmas baked goods. Imagine the crash and letdown that can be felt. The energy that crashes, like falling off a tower, is real. The grocery store simulation is shifting from one program to another. After you have become addicted to the one, there is a lull before the next one. The fall simulation begins in August with harvest and continues to build to its peak at Christmas. That's 4 months. The next big simulation doesn't come until February the 14th, with sporadic smaller events afterward until the fall harvest season returns. This is an example of how the environment can be entrained as an influence to human behavior. Awareness through health. This post on Awareness Through Eating, followed by a post on Awareness Through Feng Shui, are examples of the integrative living focus that is considered in the topic programs on a foundational level at the Inside Awareness Center for Integrative Somatic Learning. In the ATE post, the focus is on one aspect of health and well-being, and in the ATFS, there is another aspect of health and well-being. Both these aspects are interrelated, however, never identified through this lens. As a practitioner with a focus on health and well-being using practical, doable, and livable steps, I have noticed there is a lot of talk, yet no discernible and actionable change agents. Since having discussions in the 90s while in a training environment, I have noticed that it seems mainstream culture is going with one strategy and one pattern of dialogue. I observe that it is creating addictions versus shifting society into patterns for evolving into healthier and happier people. As a dominant somatic empath, patterns and levels of interconnection or disconnection are seen, heard, and felt. Since the training mentioned in the 90s, a path of discernment and observation began to better identify and find the language to communicate the separation between the cognitive recognition and somatic reality this somatic empath was observing. These two posts express how society is being led in a way of becoming ungrounded and lacking connection outside of their personal reactions to the environment and placement. For example, walking into the grocery store and being triggered into buying patterns and being vulnerable to excessive prices. For example, being triggered into the hyped community party scene to the point of exhaustion mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. Imagine being triggered into living bankruptcy. I am not referring to financial in this case, though it could be. I'm referring to the essence of abundance in living in the moment. Finances can be replaced. The essence of abundancy cannot. It needs to be achieved or regained through focus of attention and inner work. You cannot buy it. Learn more about Learning Center options at Inside Awareness Center for Integrative Somatic Learning, www.insideawareness.com. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this educational content. This somatic and empathic author is laying a foundation for exploring an active somatic pattern of communication that balances out dominant focus on analytical and debate ways of communicating to achieve more connection within and with others. Follow on our socials: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Pinterest and Tumblr. Please follow my podcast at Renee Lindstrom Official on YouTube. Thank you, and I'll catch you on the next one.